So, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Fluently Forward. Today, we are talking all about Lily Allen's newest album, West End Girl. She wrote it in 10 days after her divorce from David Harbour, who plays the good guy on Stranger Things. That's probably what he's most famous for. And they were married for, I believe, 4 years. And we knew that they got divorced, but we didn't have all of the details. And let me tell you, we have all of the details with her newest album, West End Girl. And it's this unbelievable album. I feel like you get an album like this maybe once every decade, where all the way from the beginning, you have to listen to it in order, as you should with all albums when you listen to it the first time. But it takes us down this journey of their relationship where she's really happy with David. They're together, they're married, they get a nice house. And then he kind of pushes her into an open relationship that she's not super down with, but she doesn't want to lose him. And then he promptly breaks all of the rules that they set for that open relationship, starts having affairs with all of these women, and she ends up getting a divorce from him. And let me tell you, the details in here, we have voice notes, we have names, then we find out what the real names are. We have direct lines and quotes, references to a Dwayne Reed bag with the handles tied and butt plugs, lubes, condoms. I said lubes, I think it's just singular lube, condoms inside. Letters from all of these broken women left behind in David Harbour's past that he still holds on to. Lyrics like, "Am I looking at a sex addict?" Her confronting the affair partner, Madeline, although her name, as we found out recently, is Natalie. Not to sound like Stefan from SNL, but this album has everything. And it's really fascinating and just so whether you've been with somebody, as you know, I've talked about on Patreon, as I have, who ended up having a double life, and you're just so absolutely like, words don't describe it. This album describes it, words can't. Whether that's your situation, whether you've been through divorce, breakup, cheating, that feeling of when your partner loves you, but they won't leave you, which is one of her lyrics in here. You won't love me, you won't leave me. It's Lily Allen at her best. And she's always raw and I don't wanna say brutally honest. I feel like her type of honesty is really a genre of its own because it's not, I mean, parts of it are brutal, but it's more so candid that nobody's saying it. Like, I always think of the line from Missy Elliott where I forget what song it is, but she says, "Call before you come, I need to shave my cho-cha." Yeah, okay, that's real as fuck. Sometimes you have to shave your cho-cha before someone comes over, but not that many, Adele isn't putting that into her songs. But Lily Allen, all the way from her song, Not Fair, when she goes, "As I lie here in the wet patch in the middle of the bed." Who's singing about that? Only Lily Allen. So she really gets into it with this album. And I don't want to just talk about the album. I also want to talk about the open relationship aspect. And in the second half of this episode, we're going to cover the celebrities in Hollywood who have talked about their open relationship openly and those who haven't, because I remember reading this theory years ago that basically said Will and Jada Pinkett Smith, they basically were the sacrificial lambs in Hollywood because they were the first couple to really go on the record and say, "Yeah, we have an open relationship." And they immediately got dogged on. Everybody was like, "They're cheating on each other." No, they're not. It's an open relationship. Will Smith is a cuck. Her entanglement with August, it does have a nice lyrical sound to it. Same with conscious uncoupling. That might be a hint. Gwyneth Paltrow could be on the list of open relationships here. But the theory basically posits that when Will and Jada Smith took this to the public and everybody made fun of them, about 300 or more couples in Hollywood who were open looked at that moment and they went, "Oh shit, okay, we're never going to say that we're open." Which is why when a lot of these cheating stories come out and the celebrity couple ends up staying together and everybody goes, "Why would you stay with someone who cheated on you?" Maybe it's because they were open the whole time and they just don't want to admit it yet. So I'm excited to dive into that part of it as well. All right, but first, for the first half of the episode, let's get into all of the saucy details that Lily Allen is talking about in this album. We're going to kind of take it track by track. Oh, the songs are so good. Like, you have to listen to it. It's been in such repeat. But basically, let's just dive in. I think I said that they were together for 4 years. Lily Allen discovered his 3 year long affair and a slew of different infidelities. And the album starts off with this lovely, upbeat, poppy song called West End Girl. And it's the title track. Some people are saying, I'm kind of getting the vibe that maybe David Harbour would jokingly and semi-demeaningly refer to Lily Allen as a West End girl, so that's why she made it the title track of her album. But anyway, in this first track, it's this beautiful like beat, and Lily Allen is talking about how everything's so great. They've moved into a brownstone in New York. Things are happening. They found a bunch of rooms for the kids. It seems so great. Quote, found ourselves a good mortgage, and a few quotes about how she felt uncomfortable because she couldn't afford it. But David said, "Let's do it." And she was like, "You know what? Okay, fine. We're going to do it. We're going to buy our dream place." And then the song continues, and she finds out that she just got the leading role in a London play. And she's so excited to tell her husband, David, this. But then she sings, "When I got the lead in the play, that's when your demeanor started to change. You said I'd have to audition. I said you're deranged." And I thought that was quite strange. And this is where we start to see kind of the, I'm just going to say it, narcissistic tendencies of David Harbour to come out when Lily goes, "Oh my God, I got to play." And he immediately diminishes her accomplishment and acts like it's not a big deal. And now that this album has come out, we have all of these different video clips all throughout the years where you look back on it and you're like, "Oh my God, how do we not know that David Harbour had so many red flags?" So there's this one moment where basically when Lily Allen did this play, every night when she would like leave from the backstage, she would show up in these gorgeous outfits, like absolutely looking incredible, street style, like party outfits, which was a very different vibe from the play that she was in. But these like backstage or back alley photos of her leaving dressed to the nines started to go a little bit viral and people started recognizing her again. She started to have another moment because Lily Allen, her fame kind of goes like up and down in different waves. And apparently, it seems like in a Dax Shepherdian way, David Harbour would make different jokes about it that now people are dredging back up again. Like there was this one interview where Lily Allen's being talked about how she's recognized now for her play, and David jokingly says something like, "Oh my God, I've been in hundreds of plays and like nobody ever recognizes me, but you know, she's in one play and everybody recognizes her." And I guess it kind of comes across as jokey, but it's like, holy shit, like let your wife have the limelight for 1 second. So that's the play that she's in. She references it on the first track, and the track then ends about two-thirds of the way in with the notification of a FaceTime call. And she picks up, and you just hear her side of a conversation where she's like, "Hi, I miss you. Oh, wait, you want what? I don't, how is that even going to work? It makes me really sad." Now, apparently, this would be him calling her on the phone and suggesting that they are in an open relationship. And you can tell we've now heard, multiple different celebrities on phone calls. I'm thinking of the Taylor Swift and Kanye West incident where somebody is saying yes, but you know that they're saying no. Okay. They're saying yes, but they're kind of people pleasing their way into it. They're saying that they're not in love with it, but maybe they could make it work. Anyway, it just kind of like made me rethink of that phone call listening to Lily Allen's side of this conversation. And that's the first track. Then the second one is ruminating. And she does such a great job on the production of this, really making it sound like you're ruminating. And this is her kind of trying to struggle with being okay with the open relationship, but she's not. The lyrics say, "I'm not hateful, but you make me hate her. She gets to sleep next to my medicator, and I can't shake the image of her naked on top of you, and I'm dissociated." And there's a phrase that somebody coined called poly under duress. And I feel like this happens so much. Like, I have nothing against an open relationship, a poly relationship. Could I do it for me? Absolutely not. I tried once before. Absolutely not. Like, but shout out to people who can. I have a bunch of friends who are in open relationships. I have three, and they're very happy with it. But I have also heard of so many situations from people where they're kind of dragged into being poly or open or swinging or threesomes. And we'll talk about this when we get to the section of which other celebrities are in open relationships. And to me, I just feel like if somebody is not enthusiastic, consenting to poly, open, anything, it's a no. Like it is a no, but it's so easy to see how people could kind of people please their way or say yes into it because what's the option? I say no, knowing that then you're probably going to be unsatisfied and cheat on me, or I say no, knowing that then we're going to break up. It probably feels like your only option in that moment is to say yes and then ruminate about it, which is all she does on track two. And it's really great. And I think one of the ways that you can tell that David Harbour was not doing this with the best of intentions is that she says, quote, repeating a line of his in this song, "If it has to happen, baby, do you want to know? If it has to happen, baby, do you want to know?" And the way that he's saying that, he's not like, I want you to enjoy somebody and I enjoy somebody and we have all of these beautiful experiences and we can share it with each other or not, but this is what I want, phrasing it as if it has to happen. So you're already putting a negative spin on it. And it's also one of those things, if it has to happen, it's not breathing, it's not eating food, it doesn't have to happen. You're the one who controls that it doesn't have to happen. So just the way that he's putting this on her, if I have to do it because I'm just a victim to having casual sex with people, my God, I mean, sometimes I just have to do it. Do you want to know? I'm being nice. I'm asking you if you want to know. You're not being normal. It's just like you start to see the hints of the gaslighting all the way in track 2. Track 3 is Sleepwalking, and this is just like a very sweet kind of ballad, and it talks about how she's saying, "You're not sleeping with me anymore. We're not talking, we're not being romantic anymore." And this lovely line at the end, "I know you've made me your Madonna. I wanna be your whore." And I feel like this happens so many times, not even in just in marriages, but just in relationships, this idea of, I don't know, like the Madonna whore complex is just something we could do like an entire podcast series about. But I find it really interesting that in this song, she's singing about the lack of sex that they're having as a couple, but how he's out having sex with so many different people, but he isn't doing it with her. And we hear that more on track 4, Tennis, where once again she uses this beautiful storytelling to paint this picture of a night, daddy's home for the first time in weeks. I'm making him dinner. He seems like he's not super excited to be here, whatever. Maybe it's jet lag. And then she talks about how at one moment she takes his phone to look at something and he snatches it back. And that's immediately when she gets suspicious. Raise your hand if you have been in a situation where you took a man's phone, like innocently, like he was there, he saw you do it, and he levitated across the room like a bullet to snatch it out of your hand. Your blood drops, okay? Because you know what's happening. It's happening to me. It's not that the guy was cheating on me. It's even worse. It's that he was looking at like red pill ideology on Twitter and he didn't want me to see his Twitter feed full of like demeaning things about women. But God, like there's so many stories I've seen online. There was once a story of a girl who took her boyfriend's phone into the bathroom and he ripped the door off the hinges to get it back and then tried to act like nothing suspicious was on the phone. What? It's just wild. So then we move onto the track called Madeline. And this is where Lily Allen basically tells the story of reaching out to the affair partner, Madeline, getting some answers from her, and we get some details of what the arrangement of the open marriage was. This is one of the lines in the song, Madeline. "We had an arrangement. Be discreet and don't be blatant. There had to be payment. It had to be with strangers. But you're not a stranger, Madeline." And she admits at the beginning of the song, she's like, "I know I don't know you. It feels kind of assaultive, randomly messaging you like this, but what is going on?" And she reads off, which apparently were actual direct DMs from Madeline, what the affair partner said back to her. "Oh, don't worry about it. It's just sex. It's nothing emotional. We don't even talk in between." And then you hear Lily Allen saying, "Okay, is that true? Or is that a line that he fed you? I can't trust any word out of your mouth. I can't trust any word out of his mouth. I'm not convinced he didn't fuck you in our house." She really just like paints this great picture of breaking down and being like, I can't trust anyone. And that's how you feel when you've been betrayed by someone. I can't trust my partner. I can't trust the affair partner. I can't trust myself. I can't trust anything, which then leads into the song Relapse. And Lily Allen is apparently 5 years sober, but it kind of changes when you read the blind items and like in between the lines of different things. But she basically says, "If I relapse, are you still going to take care of me?" And it's very kind of brat sounding on the album. It's a great song. And it's also just, so heartbreaking to think that like the person who would drive me to potentially relapse is the person who said that they would be there for me in like sickness and health and be there to protect me and provide for me. It's just like wrenching. Then we get to the song Pussy Palace. Pussy Palace is I've never heard a song like it. It starts off with a little musical intro that kind of sounds like the theme song to Stranger Things. Okay, love that. Nice and messy. And once again, the storytelling is just 10 out of 10 on this. She talks about how she goes over to David's place in the West Village, his apartment that he has on his own. And when she walks in, nothing is ever the same because she walks in and as she said, "I didn't know it was a pussy palace. I thought it was a dojo." And some people say that this is because David Harbour is a little bit into like MMA and fighting. And I don't know, like she thought that it was a man cave, but really it was a sex cave. And the details in here of what she finds, she talks about a shoebox full of love letters from basically serial lovers in his past whose lives he has fucked over, and all of these letters they wrote wishing that he could be better. And not only it's just so dark-sided to keep a letter. If somebody wrote me a letter being like, "You fucked up my life in XYZ way," first of all, I would live my life differently, and then I would burn it. I wouldn't keep it as like a sick little keepsake under my bed, but that's what she finds in his apartment. And then we get this incredible line: Dwayne Reed bag with the handles tied, sex toys, butt plugs, lube inside, hundreds of Trojans, you're so fucking broken. How'd I get caught up in your double life? The song is just so good, and the production on it is so enchanting, and it really captures that dissociative feeling that you go through. Anyone will know if you've been betrayed or you dated someone who had a double life or they cheated on you or anything like that, you dissociate. And like this song just captures the feeling of feeling like you're floating out of your body and you have no tether to reality. And then even her repeating the line, I know that it might, seem like a stupid line, but am I looking at a sex addict, a sex addict, a sex addict? And I just feel like that really captures this feeling that you go through in a relationship when you've been betrayed or your life has, the rug's been pulled out of you and you discover a fact, right? Maybe it's a Dwayne Reed bag full of condoms and butt plugs, or you're putting together all of the pieces. And then when she sings, "So am I looking at a sex addict?" It's the type of feeling where in a relationship, you're like, okay, this is someone that I know. Let's imagine you're Lily Allen. This has been my husband for 4 years, my partner. He's fathering my children. We live together. I'm finding all of this out. So, am I looking at a sex addict? And that means that you think you're on page 50 of a chapter with someone. Now you have to go all the way back to page fucking one because you think now, you just found out they might be a sex addict and I might have had the entire story wrong. And this is what happens when you're betrayed or you go through some sort of relationship like that. It doesn't just end when you break up with someone. A month later, 3 months later, a year later, you're like, "Wait a minute. That one fact, I thought it was this, but it's actually XYZ." And then you go all the way back to the start of the story and you read it with different glasses on this time. And that, like, dizzying feeling of, like, "Wait a minute, I'm finding pieces of evidence and I'm putting it together, but each piece of evidence that I find makes me feel more and more ripped out of my body and completely dizzy." And I just feel like the melody on the song, like, Pussy Palace is a phenomenal song. 4chan Stan is next. 4chan Stan 4chan is basically like a dirtier Reddit way back in the day. Like, now Reddit is so, like, everybody's on Reddit. I feel like it's basically Instagram, but back when Reddit was like old school Reddit, there was its dirtier, nastier cousin 4chan, and it's still around, and just don't go on it. Like, nothing good happens on 4chan. But in this song, she's basically talking about how much of a coward David Harbour is. Like, "You won't do this, you won't even say that to me. What a sad, sad man." It's giving 4chan Stan, basically just saying you're a pathetic loser. Then we have Non-Monogam Mummy. Ooh, what a tongue twister of a title. And this is a really fun, upbeat song. And it's where she's talking about how she's trying to be open. "I'm just trying to be open." But you can tell that her heart isn't in it. And in the lyrics, she's saying, "I don't want to fuck with anyone else. I know that's all you want to do. I'm so committed that I'd lose myself because I don't want to lose you." And it's her trying to make it work, trying to make it work. It's a great upbeat song. I love it. Then we have Just Enough, a ballad. And this is where she gets a little bit vulnerable, talking about how she sees herself as like a hag now. "Looking at my reflection, I feel so drawn, so old. I booked myself a facelift, wondering how long it might hold. I gave you all my power, how I'm seen through your eyes." It's just, it's like this really heartbreaking song where it happens to all of us. I love, one of Cardi B's lyrics from the song Be Careful on Invasion to Privacy, where she goes, "You're nothing like the guy I met. Talk to me crazy and you're quick to forget. You even got me tripping. You got me looking in the mirror different, thinking I'm flawed because you're inconsistent." And it's just so true, and it sucks so much, like, every single time you're in a situation when someone lets you down, to have that thought where you're like, "What did I do wrong? Ooh, how am I not pretty enough? Am I not sexy enough? Am I not fun enough?" And it's just somebody else being a piece of shit, and them being a piece of shit is, making Lily Allen go, "Do I need a facelift?" And then this is also where we get a juicy detail in the song where she goes, "Why are we here talking about vasectomies? Did you get someone pregnant? Is she having your baby? And I think that hits especially hard for Lily Allen too, because she has 2 children from a previous, relationship, but she didn't have any kids with David Harbour. So the idea of him maybe having a baby with his affair partner, like, God, that's gotta suck. Then we move on to Dallas Major, and it's about her trying to get into the dating scene begrudgingly because she kind of feels like she has to keep up in this open marriage. And it's just so dry. She has a lyric, I'm almost nearly 40. I'm just shy of 5'2". I'm a mom to teenage children. Does that sound like fun to you? And then the chorus is just because I hate it here. I hate it here. And the visualizer that she has for this song on Spotify and on YouTube is just so great. It's just her sitting in a chair as different suitors come in and out of the other chairs, speed dating style, and her just being exhausted with it, which I feel like even if you're not in Lily Allen's shoes, you can relate to that. Then we have a really, fun, sexy song, Beg for Me. More hints of David's wacko narcissism here, where she goes, uh, I feel embarrassed. I feel ashamed. You're so indifferent and it's insane. Where's all your empathy for all my pain? And this is something in the song she's singing, why won't you beg, beg, beg for me? I find this wild with people who cheat and can leave double lives. It's like you have different schedules, you're maintaining 2 different relationships. You're cheating on me and lying about where you've been, but then lying about this, and then one lie equals 10 lies, and you're able to manage all of that, and you're still sleeping peacefully at night and working out and going to work and doing social things. You're able to do all of that, but you don't have the capacity to say, I'm sorry. Like, you have the capacity to fully have a relationship and affairs with different people, but you can't say that you want me. You can't apologize. You can't try to make it better. I know that you have all of your faculties working and you're able to do it, but you just aren't doing it for me. You won't beg for me. And I think this is really interesting. Anyone who's been in a relationship with someone, I'm going to say David Harbour is a sociopath. I know that that sounds like armchair diagnosing, but sociopaths, it's 2 to 4% in the of the population. There a lot of different researchers say it's 1 in 25 in the US specifically. And a sociopath isn't a psychopath. Like, they don't want to peel your skin back and laugh like a maniac. They're not the freaking Joker, but it is this idea where they just don't care about you. They only care about themselves. They don't feel guilty like normal people do. They are not, let's just say there would be no ruminating song for them. They're not ruminating. They're not ruminating. They're usually up high in the career ladder. Their, aspects of their personality are going to be rewarded in the career sector. They usually have a lot of money. It's how they can lure people in because they do well at their career because they have no guilt. They don't care about people. People are just, how can I use this person? How can I take advantage of this person? How does this person get me to where I need to go? It's just this blatant disregard for other people's rights, emotions, and boundaries. And it's also paired with like a very surface level charm, impulsive behavior, ability to manipulate, etc. And I know a lot of people, everyone's ex is a narcissist. I don't know about that. But I think if you are leading a double life, like if you're able to maintain 2 different relationships and you're lying to both people and you have separate lives, like you're going to separate abodes, this man has a pussy palace that she didn't know about. You're a sociopath. You're a sociopath. So it's just very interesting to hear her in the song be like clocking it. Where's your empathy for my pain? Have you ever had somebody watch you cry and you're like, oh, they don't care at all that I'm crying? Ah, it's kind of like that. All right, then we have Let You Win slash Let You In. And I think that this is a great song. And it really answers the question of why is Lily Allen spilling all of this? Why is she being so messy? It's this no nonsense kind of end of the marriage song. And I love how she sings these lyrics. She goes, I'm expected to be nice, picking up the pieces. What is it you sacrifice? I'm protecting you from your secrets. Don't tell the children, the truth would be brutal. Your reputation's unstained. God knows how long you've been getting away with it. Already let you in. All I can do is sing. So why should I let you win? And I think this is so true as well. Like, it's not for people who have been cheated on, it's not enough that, great, I was cheated on. It's going to take years for me to recover. I need to regain my sense of trust, my self-esteem, my worth. But then also this idea that even though somebody else fucked me over, I have to be the bigger person and I can't talk about what happened to me honestly. I just need to hide all of your dirty shit because it would be messy or it could hurt people or, you've already hurt enough. And I just think that that's so true. I know some people might be like, oh my God, she's playing the victim in this and it's too messy. First of all, I love when there's a mess. And I love when somebody's being honest and authentic about what's happening, especially when it's a celebrity. It's so exciting. But I think it's also true. Like, why, if somebody did something shitty, you're able to talk about it. I would say the only time that you're not, and there are a few moments in this album where I go, I think Lily Allen could have been a little bit more self aware. The only time when you can't is if you also did something shitty, because then, all right, now there's going to be a knife fight started. But I would say for people saying Lily Allen is acting like such a victim on this, and then of course there's all these conversations online about her past and how she doesn't deserve to be a victim in anything because she's done like all of these horrible things. And there's a lot Lily Allen has done that I am not standing behind. But I do think it would have been interesting to have a reflective song on the album, like I Will Never People Please Again, or this was it's majority David Harbour's fault. But I think just one sort of song of now that this has happened to me, I will never let XYZ happen again. Because I think, she basically talks about how she people pleased her way into an open relationship. And it's just another sign that even if you think you're in a great relationship or you don't need to work on yourself, we all do, because even these tendencies that we have to not want to let someone go or be a little bit codependent or help someone out or overextend, it's all well and good until there's a situation where it's not. So it's always something to be working on. And then she ends with the last song, Fruity Loop. It's her final track on the album. She references her past album, It's Not Me, It's You, and just kind of suggests that she's moving on. Wow. What a freaking phenomenal album. You have to go listen to it. The way that not only the lyrics are so raw, but also the music captures the feeling of each individual track. Like, it's just amazing. So, something else that I thought about the album, obviously, it dredged up a lot for me personally. I was like walking around, I'm like crying, then I'm mad, then I'm happy. Like, anytime you engage with a piece of art that's like really honest, what's that? Let me look up that Hemingway quote. Yeah, Hemingway had all of these quotes about honest writing. All you have to do is write one true sentence. Write the truest sentence that you know. No subject is terrible if the story is true, if the prose is clean and honest, and if it affirms courage and grace under pressure. And that was Hemingway's big thing. He was like, it has to be honest. It has to be so honest. And if it's honest, it will be good. And that's what I think about art. Like, my favorite types of art are the ones that are honest. That's why I'm obsessed with anytime Olivia Rodrigo sings about obsession, Ooh, man, it's so honest. Her song Lacey, so honest. Anyway, so I really think that that type of art is the best. And this album made me think a lot about women in Hollywood who stay with someone who cheated on them. And this is not at all, do not ever think that I am knocking someone for doing that. Like, you don't know anyone's situation. I could never presume to know what's best for someone and their whole situation. But just for an example, right? Beyonce, she put out Lemonade. Amazing, amazing album. But she's still with Jay-Z, right? There could be plenty of reasons. Maybe they love each other. Maybe they worked through it. Maybe she was cheating too. Maybe it's for the kids, for the business, whatever. But she stayed with Jay-Z, and a lot of people were like, oh my God, I wish that she didn't. And, like we have any right to say anything. That's a story that we normally see in Hollywood. But lately, we're starting to see the other side of it. And yes, Lily Allen is an example of this, but also Shakira. She was with her partner. I don't think they ever got married, but they were together for like 15 years or something. And he cheated on her. She kicked him out. We got details about it. She found out he was cheating, remember, because the affair partner was like eating her jam in the fridge. Anyway, and she found out because she was like the only one who ate the jam. And then she put out the diss track and like everybody knew about it and it was like messy and it was an explosion. And then she moved on from it. And when I see Shakira at award shows, like she recently performed, she did like one of her like cool belly dancing things at an award show. I don't think at all about the fact that she was cheated on. I go, Shakira, I see her and I'm like, oh my God, look at Shakira, look at what she's doing. Same with Lily Allen. Every interview that I do, I don't look at these videos of Lily Allen and I go, that's a woman who was cheated on. I go, oh my God, her artistry, like what a woman. I'm so obsessed with her. And this is not at all to diminish Beyonce. Like, who knows what's going on? I feel like Jay-Z and Beyonce are almost at like a political type of marriage situation. So almost like a Bill and Hillary Clinton type of thing. But all of this is to say, we're now starting to get examples, at least in the celebrity world, with Lily Allen and Shakira, of women who leave and they leave in their 40s and they're better off for it. And I think that's really great to see because it's not like we know these celebrities, they're strangers to us, but we kind of mirror certain things or, pop culture is culture. You look at what's going on and it kind of works its way into your own life. But I just love these examples of Lily Allen and Shakira to look at what they're doing and be like, hell yeah, like you were disrespected and you fucking left. And as I said in my breakup ebook, fluentlyforward.com, you can check out all the ebooks that we have, 99 pages, all about what to do in a breakup. The anxiety and the stress and the ruminating that you feel when you are going through a bad breakup or you were cheated on or you're trying to make it work, that is the ninth level of hell. You're not eating, you're not sleeping, your nervous system is fried, you're trying to be like an online detective and figure everything out. It will be one of the worst moments in your life. And when you break up with that person or you leave that situation, it feels like you're gonna die. You are not. You will be sad, but being sad is the first layer of hell. And ruminating and being stressed and being anxious and paranoid and not knowing what's happening, that is the worst. So I just think it's so powerful to go through all of this and then leave and then tell everybody what happened. It must feel so freeing. And I can't imagine what it was like for Lily Allen in that basically year between her and David Harbour breaking up and then this album coming out where everybody, oh my God, I would have lost my mind. Everybody for a year was like, oh, Lily Allen's such a mess. Of course he broke up with her. He's such a good guy in Stranger Things. And meanwhile, she's like, Dwayne Reed bag with the lube and the butt plugs. Like, I would have lost my mind. So let's find out a little bit more about what's going on with them just in the blind item world before we get into all of these open marriages with other celebrities. So we have a blind item here. It's the latest blind item, and it's basically alleging that the lead actor in the show Stranger Things, David Harbour, doesn't want to do any press for it at all. He knows he is cooked. And yes, I find it very exciting that Lily Allen put out this album right before the press tour for the next season of Stranger Things kicks off. We will see, is David Harbour going to show up? He will certainly be asked questions about this. Maybe he won't do any press at all. We have another blind item here. Basically, Lily Allen went on OnlyFans and she joined, I think, about a year ago, and she was selling pictures of her feet and she was making pretty good money doing it. A blind item says this foreign-born former A-minus list singer wants to sell a whole lot more than just feet photos. She loves the attention and the money. Yeah, who doesn't want to sell pictures of their feet for money? Truly, show me anyone on this planet who would say, I don't want to take a picture of my foot and get money for it. Show me anyone. And don't show me a mirror because I've certainly done it before. It's a picture of my foot and I could get paid money for it. Like, come on now. But anyway, after she joined OnlyFans, people were dogging on her on Twitter back in the day, and she ended up responding to it on Twitter and saying, quote, imagine being an artist and having nearly 8 million monthly listeners on Spotify, but earning more money from having 1,000 people subscribe to pictures of your feet. Which is very interesting, Either a lot of people pay money for her feet or the streaming that you make off of Spotify is not very lucrative. End of 2024 and early 2025, there were blind items about Lily Allen relapsing or using drugs, alcohol, etc. And then in January 2025, we get this blind item, which ended up coming true. The foreign-born former A-minus list singer is going to allege a lot of awful things against her ex. She's going to do so right before the premiere of a very much looked at forward to TV event in which he stars. She wants maximum pressure for a big payday, and that did end up happening months later in October of 2025. Now, as I was looking at these different blind items, there were a lot of blinds about Lily Allen being like a fucking mess and David Harbour being such a patient saint. Am I okay? A patient saint? He was being a patient saint. It's such a lie that my mouth can't even say it. I'm stumbling over it. Basically saying like, he's so fantastic, he helps her out, and she's such a mess. And I was about to lose my mind and be like, how is it that he was cheating with all of these different women and it's not in the blind items? It's just negative against Lily Allen. But then I kept clicking and oh boy, here's where we get the David Harbour blinds. This 80s streamer actor is known for hooking up with crew members, and that didn't change while he was married. All right, hooking up with crew members from Stranger Things. Another item, the A minus list actor, best known for a big streaming hit, David Harbour, kept trying to leave his wife, Lily Allen, but she kept threatening to unalive herself if he did. Now, I just have to say, when it comes to blind items, like, what are we doing having the word unalive in a blind item? Blind items talk about how, like, this Disney star is selling her holes on a yacht to a billionaire because blah, blah, blah. And we're using the word unalive. I, d- I, d- I don't know. I feel like it's so, to quote Stranger Things, it's the upside down or whatever. Like what's next? Like you're gonna do like a land acknowledgement before like a blind item or something? What are we doing? This is just like the state that the internet is in 2025. Anyway, we're gonna keep moving on to the next one. This foreign born former A minus list singer, allegedly Lily Allen, is spending like she is an A plus lister. She's spending the money of her actor significant other who is tired of the nonstop shopping. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Lily Allen is pretty open that she doesn't make a lot of money off of her music, so I could totally see that one being true. We have another item from 2024 saying, instead of just using them for herself like she did back in the day, this foreign born hanging on to A minus list singer, Lily Allen, gets escorts for her significant other, too, David Harbour. Sometimes it is the three of them, but often he just wants to be alone with the escort. Very interesting to see this blind item now that we can refer back to the track for Madeline on her latest album, where she said, this was our arrangement. There had to be money exchanged and it had to be discreet. So it seems like maybe when they opened up their marriage, it started off and she was like, it's fine if you use sex workers, but not enough for him. He had to have affairs. And then we have this other blind item about David Harbour that says, isn't that the 80s streaming star slash new superhero universe guy? Isn't he supposed to be decades sober? But wasn't that him drinking beer at a Cubs game this weekend? Which is interesting because David Harbour does say that he's like 20 years sober. He's also spoken out about being diagnosed as bipolar. He said on the WTF podcast, quote, that when he was 25, he did have a manic episode and that it was a year after his decision to embrace sobriety, which is interesting. Now, there's so many different things being dredged up with this album out. And one wild thing that happened with David Harbour in 2015 is that there was a woman staying at his apartment. I don't know if it was the Pussy Palace or the Dojo apartment or a different one. But on the 15th of September 2015, this 29-year-old woman jumped out of his apartment and died on impact. And a suicide note was found at the scene. Now, when she died, David Harbour was out of the country. I think he was like in Canada, I don't know, with a friend or for a movie or something like that. He wasn't even in the apartment. But a lot of people were like, who is this 29-year-old girl and why was she staying at his apartment? How did they know each other? He said to the New York Daily, quote, she was in the shelter system. I was trying to help her out. He described her, Kristen, as a lovely person and expressed his feelings over her passing. He said, quote, I'm very confused. I don't understand how this happened. She seemed to be a lovely person. It's a terrible tragedy. I'm very shaken by this. Some people online were saying, okay, I'm going to get heat for saying this, but some people online were basically saying, there's a lot of people that you could help out in the shelter system. I wonder why he was helping out a pretty 29-year-old woman. And was he helping her out because she stayed at his apartment for free? Or were they talking? Were they doing more than talking? Was that how she stayed at the apartment? I think it just adds like a very sour twist to it when you listen to the lyrics of this album and you hear that he keeps a shoebox full of like past distraught lovers who are so upset with him and wish that he could be better and how he's like ruined their lives and he holds on to all of these letters and stuff. People also don't know how exactly they met each other, but what's interesting is that David Harbour is really, really active with his fan community online. So there have been different moments where a senior in high school wrote in to like, take me to the prom or come to the prom with me. And he ended up flying her out and they didn't go to the prom together. Or I think she wanted him in her senior photos. That was it. And he didn't go to her high school, but he flew her out and then they took photos together. And then there was also a fan who wanted him to officiate their wedding. So he ended up doing that. Basically, I went down this rabbit hole of looking on all of these different Stranger Things and like all of these different fan pages. And there would be so many different posts where people were like, I wrote into David Harbour and he wrote back and he sent back like a signed autograph. So he's really in touch with his fans, Which then leads us to something that came out on Twitter. This cannot be verified, okay? This is alleged. Crazy shit comes about on Twitter, but there's this thing going viral on Twitter where a woman who was 21 years old back in the day apparently wrote out and like messaged David Harbour on Insta and said that she was such a fan and she was really surprised when he messaged back and invited her to come out to Vegas, and he flew her out to Vegas. I think he was in his 40s, she was 21, and she tells the story of how he flew her out and they definitely had sex, and it's not quite like West End Girl, but man, there's a lot of honest details in that. And once again, like, who knows? This is just something on Twitter. But what all of this has taught me is that I know nothing about David Harbour. We've done a Stranger Things episode before, and I thought, I don't know, I thought he was like a nice guy. I thought he was protecting Millie Bobby Brown from the industry. And now you go back and look at everything. Everybody is pulling up the Architectural Digest house tour that Lily Allen and David Harbour did. And oh my God, is it a hard watch? It's also funny because David Harbour's apartment tour on his own, he had an amazing apartment. I mean, basically, he hired someone amazing to do it. The house he had with Lily Allen, man, their two vibes did not mesh. I will say, David Harbour's first Architectural Digest house tour, what a good looking apartment. I would love to live in that place. But anyway, in the tour that they do together, he's talking the entire time. He's like audibly groaning and like pissed off anytime she says anything. He's making all of these jokes about her. Her body language, her arms are crossed the entire time. Like it was not a comfortable watch. And then people also go back in time. And when Lily Allen starred in that play, remember his demeanor began to change once he found out that she got the lead in a play. He sent her a note for the play opening night, and it was flowers. And the note says, "My ambitious wife, these are bad luck flowers, because if you get reviewed well in this play, you will get all kinds of awards and I will be miserable. Your loving husband." If someone, even as a joke, sent me bad luck flowers, I would send them a good luck shit in a box. I would say, here's my shit. Here's my shit on your doorstep, but it's for good luck. Like, God, it's just like so, once again, it's very Dax Shepherdian. And then in 2022, there's this quote from David Harbour, which a lot of people are now raising their eyebrows at. And they were already, I believe, married at this point, and he was talking about how he knew that Lily Allen was the one for him. Anyway, this is what he said, quote, "It was our third date. I was just in this place where I was like, I'm just going to be brutally honest about everything because why lie? And I told her something about my life, about my beliefs. It would really take an extraordinary person to be accepting of the things that I said. And I remember thinking, wow, that's somebody I want to be around." What did he tell her on their third date that he was brutally honest about? Which, by the way, anytime someone says the word brutally honest, it's not like, oh, what's your big secret? I like to go to the soup kitchen. I'm a Democrat. Like, that's not brutally honest. Brutally honest is like, this is a hot take that could get me canceled, but I'm going to tell you what it is. What do we think it is? The first thing that came to me is similar to what Jeffrey Epstein used to say. Like, is David Harbour one of those people who's like, I need to ejaculate 3 times a day? Biologically, like, I need to come that many times a day. Otherwise, my body like goes into rigor mortis. But a lot of people at the time, everybody, because the quote went a little bit viral in 2022, people were saying that it was because he was a socialist, and that's what he said. Let me read this again with the idea that he's a socialist. "I'm going to be brutally honest about everything in life. I told her something about my life, about my beliefs. It would take a really extraordinary person to be accepting of the things that I said." I don't think that's him being a socialist, okay? I think that's something nasty, and I think it's something sexual, and I think it's something wrong. So let me know what you think it is. People were wondering, the Shameless podcast put out a TikTok about this, and one of the comments had me giggling because everyone's like, what do we think it was that he said? And somebody went, why don't we just ask Lily Allen at this point? And it's like, yeah, that could be a bonus track. What did he say on your third date? All right, so now I've been talking for like far too long, but now we are at the point in the episode where we are going to, crack snuggles, talk about celebrity open relationships. Who is in an open relationship in Hollywood? Who do we know about? Who do we suspect? And I think that's about it. After doing this research, let's see, I have 8 pages on this. The more accurate question is who's monogamous in Hollywood is what I want to know. So Gwyneth Paltrow has come out and said that she called the record West End Girl a masterpiece. And if you double click into that, it's pretty interesting because we know that Gwyneth Paltrow had a conscious uncoupling with Chris Martin, but apparently they also had an open relationship during periods throughout their 10-year marriage. This was what a source told Access Hollywood. If Chris was playing around, Gwyneth didn't care. She's never been jealous or territorial. Her philosophy is we're both adults, we make our own choices. Now, I just find it very interesting. I mean, Chris Martin is in all of the blind items as just like he cheats, he cheats, he cheats, he cheats. Perhaps it was open, but I find it really interesting that Gwyneth Paltrow is coming out and saying that this record is a masterpiece. And I think anyone who really, really relates to this album and it like hits them in their gut, it's because you've been in a situation like this before. There's no, and that's why it steams me when people are like, oh my God, like you like this album, like here's all the bad things that Lily Allen has done. Okay. Until like Kamala Harris or Malala start making music about this exact scenario that has related to a moment in my life, I'll listen to that album when it comes out, but it hasn't yet. So let me just like feel something from the art. I'm not going to send a check to Lily Allen. I just want to like enjoy the album when it's out. So anyway, other people here, we're going to start with the most obvious one. Will and Jada Pinkett Smith. We know about this. They've opened up about how it's so funny to say they opened up about how they opened up, but Will did open up about how, quote, at some point our relationship stopped being monogamous. He says, Jada never believed in conventional marriage. There were significant, endless discussions about what is relational perfection. Which, by the way, this is just interrupting Shannon, if my partner came up to me and said, what is relational perfection? Immediately cut the cameras. It's not that I'm not down to talk about that type of thing, but we need to talk about it as like two people in a relationship, not like you're my professor talking down to me, you know? What is relational perfection? I don't know. Let's just like use normal words. I think that's another thing that really bugs me about the not the polyamorous community because, you know, trust me, I was vegan for a while. I understand not everybody represents what an entire community is about, but even calling things like this is ethical non-monogamy, there is kind of like a condescending tone to putting the word ethical in front of it and giving it that distinction. And I remember back when I lived in Florida, I dated this guy and he was like trying to convince me to be polyamorous. And the way that he talked about it, I felt like such an unevolved piece of shitty, like a swine. I felt like some rat on a farm who like didn't know anything. I barely had opposable thumbs. He was like, no, 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 like being polyamorous, like here's all these books that you need to read on it. And it's really the more evolved way to live. Look, live and let live, but don't talk down to people. And I just find it so interesting that in a lot of these conversations, it feels like, why are we getting so like academic about how we feel for each other? But anyway, let's continue with the quote for Will and Jada Smith. What is relational perfection? What is the perfect way to interact as a couple? And for the large part of our relationship, monogamy was what we chose, not thinking of monogamy as the only relational perfection. We have given each other trust and freedom with the belief that everybody has to find their own way. And marriage for us can't be a prison. And I don't suggest our road for anybody. I don't suggest this road for anybody. But the experiences that the freedoms that we've given one another and the unconditional support to me is the highest definition of love. Look, I'm not going to knock it. I think I just have different preferences. For example, like when the Beatles sing, I want to hold your hand, I go, I get it. I go, I understand that. But if, you know, Will and Jada are saying, what is relational perfection? I would go, I don't know. Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, apparently they also had some things going around with monogamy. Angelina Jolie said back in 2009, I doubt that fidelity is absolutely essential for a relationship. It's worse to leave your partner and talk badly about him afterwards. Neither Brad nor I have ever claimed that living together means to be chained together. We make sure that we never restrict each other. I have sometimes left the room and texted or spoke poorly about my partner, and I'm sure they've done the same about me. But I guess that's worse than infidelity. That's on me. Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher, we all know about their story. It's not quite an open relationship, but it's similar a little bit to the Lily Allen and David Harbour situation because she's talked about how she was pressured into threesomes by Ashton. She wrote in her book, I put him first, so when he expressed his fantasy of bringing a third person into our bed, I didn't say no. I wanted to show him how great and fun I could be. Because we had brought a third party into our relationship, Ashton said, that blurred the lines and, to some extent, justified what he'd done in cheating on her. Now, an unexpected name to add to this list of celebrities who have been open about being open is Shailene Woodley. She didn't name names of her partner or who she did this with, but she said, quote, I'm someone who has experienced both an open relationship and a deeply monogamous relationship in my life. And I think we're in a day and age where there should be no rules except for the ones designed by two people in a partnership, or three people, whatever floats your boat. But there has to be a level of responsibility in any relationship dynamic, and that responsibility is simply honesty and communication and trust. Apart from that, it's really none of our business what people choose to do with their lives. Now, a former relationship couple, Kalani and YG, they had to explain that they were open when he was caught kissing another woman outside of a club by paparazzi. And people were like, oh my God, he's cheating. And then she did an interview with the Breakfast Club and said, that wasn't a rule breaking situation. I just don't feel like getting online and deeply explaining that that is not a situation that matters to me. Then I got to deal with everybody coming at my mentality about an open relationship, which I completely understand. I mean, look at me. I'm being a little bit suspicious of the thing, but that's only because someone was such a dick to me once about being polyamorous. Like, I'm just personally still bitter about it. Anyway, this one also surprised me. Drew Barrymore, when she was in a relationship with Luke Wilson, Owen Wilson's brother, they dated from 1996 to 1998, and she said that it was non-monogamous to Kate Hudson on her talk show in 2022. She said, quote, when we first met, we were young and wild. I was dating Luke, but I think he was also dating other people. Yeah, totally. It was an open relationship. We were young. Lizzo is also a celebrity who has contributed to this conversation. In a 2022 interview with Charlemagne the God, she opened up about how monogamy makes her feel claustrophobic. Quote, I think I love a relationship that's not monogamous and has no rules. I think people who do poly and all that stuff, there's still rules. I don't want any rules. It's like, do what you want to do. As long as you love me, I'm cool. It just means that there are no expectations, and that way the love gets to just be the main event. I would pass out, I think. I would pass out if there were no rules. I shout out, maybe I am less evolved, but what can I say? I like rules. I like boundaries. I like knowing where the line is. I like knowing how to toe it and go right up to the line. And that's just because for me, it eases anxiety. And I think we all have this fear. That's why sometimes this trend goes viral on TikTok of people being like, is it cheating if it's this, if it's that, if it's XYZ? Now with technology in the picture, there's so many. Some people think that your partner watching porn is cheating. Some people think that following other girls on Instagram is cheating. It's not quite cheating, but if a girl posts a bikini photo and then my boyfriend slides in with the fire emoji, I'm not going to like it. I mean, there's just like so many different ways now to categorize the thing that I think for me, like I like having those rules just so that way I never have to be anxious about like, am I hurting someone? Because I think the worst thing to do would be you hurt someone and you didn't realize that you weren't supposed to do something. So, but shout out Lizzo, no rules. She lives in a relationship anarchy, basically. Now, another example of this being confused is Dolly Parton, because she was on a lot of these lists. I was like, Dolly Parton's in an open marriage? She has described her marriage as an open relationship. I don't think it is. She's she's basically given quotes and been like, "Oh yeah, it's like open, like we let each other do what? Like you have to flirt with people, etc., etc." But it basically just means that they can flirt with other people, but sexual involvement is off limits. And it's like, I don't know if Dolly Parton got the message that when you say I'm in an open relationship, that kind of means that you're fucking other people. But who knows? I mean, once again, maybe that is what she meant, and then she kind of backtracked it. Dolly. And then the last one I want to talk about because I love ranting about them, Thomas Middleditch. Have it out for him, okay? Thomas Middleditch, he was in Silicon Valley. He played like the main guy, and he's been in a few other things. He is really good at improv. He did improv with Ben Schwartz, I think. They were doing this like improv thing over on Netflix. And he was married to this adorable woman, Molly Gates. Like I've definitely talked about Thomas Middleditch before. You guys probably already know how I hate him, but he did this interview. I think it was with GQ or I don't know, one of those like broy magazines. It could have been like Rolling Stone. Is that broy? No, it's not. I don't know. He did some sort of shitty interview where he was talking about how he's the gas and Molly is the brakes. Tell me what wife would ever want to be referred to as the brakes in a relationship. And he basically was talking about how he asked her to be open and he kind of convinced her into doing it, which I just read as like pressured. He pressured her into it. And they started to have threesomes and they would do it with some fans. And I'm pretty sure then he started cheating. But then he started doing all of these interviews about like swinging and how swinging saved their marriage. And it was so great. But you could just tell the way that he spoke about his wife was so fucking disrespectful, basically like coercing her into this. And then they broke up and I follow her on Instagram and I hope she doesn't get rid of me because I think she has a private account, and she dyed her hair brown and she looks really good. She's always been cute and he always looks like a rat. Like, ooh, it just hold on. Let me like pull up one of his direct quotes so you can realize why I'm so pissed. Okay, this is one of his quotes. To be honest, swinging has saved our marriage. We have different speeds and we argue over it constantly, but it's better than feeling unheard and alone and that you have to scurry in the shadows. Scurry in the shadows? That you have to scurry in the shadows and you argue about it constantly, but it's better than feeling unheard and alone. Being alone is not the worst thing in the world. Scurrying in the shadows and arguing constantly. Yeah, and then he said, I'm gas and she's brakes. Imagine this. You're a nice woman. You start dating this guy. He becomes famous because he gets on this HBO show. He pushes you into swinging, and you're like, okay, you know what? For you, I'll do it. And then, even though you said yes and you're doing these things with him and his fans, and maybe you're not totally into it, but you're doing it, then he goes to GQ magazine and talks about how, like, you're such a freaking nag about it and you argue all the time and he's gas, but your breaks. I would snap his neck, hypothetically, for parody use. Like, oh my God. So, anyway, those are people who have been open about being open. But now let's talk about the blinds and let's scurry in the shadows, just like Thomas Middleditch, and see what people are saying. Lainey Gossip has a few blind items about people who allegedly could be open. And the first one is going to shock you because it shocked me. Meryl Streep. It says the key to her illustrious career, talent, of course, but also she's always been a professional. She's never been difficult, never been a drama queen. She always works hard and she's always prepared. That's also been the secret to her successful relationship. It's an open marriage and it's a solid marriage because she's a professional at protecting it. She's careful about who she sleeps with, directors and other actors she knows she can trust, and it's all discussed very professionally before it starts. She dictates the terms of the arrangement. She's very clear about exactly how it will go down, that there will be no commitment, that they enjoy each other privately when they're working together, and if she believes that they can meet her requirements, it's on. Professional was the word that kept repeating itself when my sources explained how she goes about her affairs. She's always, always so professional about these hookups. Like they're the most efficient business deal. Sometimes the men are younger, sometimes they're her contemporaries, like the charmingly sexy actor who played her husband recently, especially now that he's no longer committed, which allegedly was Sam Shepard, they say. And they never tell because, well, being professional about it is probably the only way they can imagine doing anything else as well as she does. She's practically the best at her job. Why wouldn't she be the best at being discreet? I don't know if I believe that one. I don't know. What the fuck do I know, right? I don't know. Maybe Meryl Streep is out there being open. But it does remind me of White Lotus season 3, which we've talked about on this podcast. The rumors of Walton Goggins and Amy Lou Wood having some sort of affair on set that it seems like everybody noticed. And then when more and more people dug into it, it seems like this has happened to Walton Goggins and somebody else on a previous set. So I do think that there's a lot of people in Hollywood who have this idea of, if I'm away working on a project, I'll hook up with someone when I'm working on that project, but then when we come back together, it's over. Now, there were a couple blind items about Courtney Cox and David Arquette being in an open marriage. This is another one from Lainey Gossip that says, such is the case with her and her famous but not as famous husband. On the heels of a career rejuvenation of sorts, partners now both on and off screen, a true family at last, our A-list wife is experiencing a sexual awakening and not entirely satisfied by her spouse. Instead, she has set her sights on a number of peripheral players. And there were a few blind items saying that Courtney Cox is in something open. There was one blind item saying that Matt Damon, it said this A-list, mostly movie actor who is an Oscar winner slash nominee with at least one huge franchise, is in essentially an open marriage. So when you know he's sleeping with someone other than his wife, you don't know if it's the open thing or something more. With all the divorce buzz, though, going on with his wife, this could be the reason. Yeah, there were different times he was seen without his wedding ring on, so I don't know if that was like their marriage was in a tough spot or maybe it was open or is, who knows? We have a blind item about Alicia Keys and Swiss Beats. It says, "Don't believe the hype. The former A-plus list singer and her husband are not divorcing. They long ago decided on an open marriage. Plus, the shady stuff that would be revealed in a split means that they are locked together forever." Our next blind item is about Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. It says the celebrity couple who have sort of slid off the radar, although they were both pretty big in the late 90s, have recently decided to have an open marriage. Well, at least one of them has. She had to convince him to allow others into their marriage. He was reluctant and didn't like the idea, but since she was already cheating with this B list actor from a hit film series, he decided he would give open marriage a try if it means salvaging their relationship. Even if it's Michelle Gellar, don't like it. Don't like it. Like, having to convince someone, I don't know. I think there's only a few things you should really, like, convince someone about. Like, what type of artwork you hang above the couch? Sure. Opening up your marriage, and I think the thing that seems, and I'm not, by the way, this is not me saying that it's insidious. If both people want to be open or poly or swing, do whatever you want. Like, it's your marriage. But this idea of convincing someone, I think I dislike because it reminds me of moving target syndrome. And that's what it kind of feels like, right? It's like we married each other, we made vows, we did it in front of everyone, we repeated it, we put the rings on the finger. This is what we're going to do. And now we're not having a ceremony. We're not talking about it with the same amount of thought that we gave to our marriage, but we're completely changing the foundation of everything that we do. And it's being brought up not as an idea that we're working on together, but you're trying to pull me on board to it. And it would change everything. Very different if like Angelina and Jolie and Brad Pitt are doing it versus one celebrity or anyone trying to like convince somebody else to do it and then being like, okay, well, I guess I'll do it to try and save our relationship. I The next one is Melissa Joan Hart. It says this former teen actress who has not worked as much in the past few years is in the bathroom and crying with a friend of hers. It seems that she's crying because her husband invited the woman that he had been having an affair with to the event that he also brought his wife to. She had not wanted to get divorced, so she agreed to an open marriage, but she didn't agree to it being thrown in her face. The next blind item is about Joseph Gordon Levitt and his wife, and I haven't even thought of Joseph Gordon Levitt in like 10 years, but it says, what A-list actor is a big fan of the open marriage idea and recently got back with his longtime boyfriend, also an actor? But don't worry, his wife also has her girlfriend on the side too. I think that's nice, balanced, equal, a person for everyone. The next one is Kim Kardashian and Kanye West and allegedly Ricardo. It says this A-list celebrity recently bragged to the press, Kanye, that he went straight to the FBI over his A-list wife's naked pictures getting hacked, Kim's. The world collectively shrugged because pretty much everyone has seen this woman naked and it really isn't a big deal. So why did he run to the FBI? Because he's scared to death that the hackers are coming for him next and they will uncover his open marriage with his wife and his longtime lover. He's doing everything possible to prevent this from getting out. I would have thought, remember those rumors about Kanye West and Jeffree Star hooking up and then they both moved to Wyoming? That was always a fun one. We have one about Bill Clinton. It says, so it looks like the narrative going forward is this former A++ lister has an open marriage. So all of those women he's been with while in political office and after are all just fine. And you guys know, I think I said this over on Patreon, the tea I've gotten from Hillary Clinton was someone that I spoke to. And allegedly Bill Clinton said to him, quote, Hillary gets more chicks than I do. So I could totally see that between the Clintons. Anyone who thinks that the Clintons like sleep in the same bed every night, come off it. Oh, this one I liked. It's allegedly about Fergie and her husband Josh Duhamel. I don't know how you say his last name. And then also the couple of Paula Patton and Robin Thicke. And the blind item says, which B-list celebrity couple who's been together for a while has an open marriage where they trade spouses with this C-list actress who's married to a B-list musician? That I could be into. I think just because I'm so attachment based, the idea of like, oh my God, let's all have sex together. Let's all go to the restaurant together. Let's all go a trip to Mexico for 4. We're all here. Couples massage for 4. We're all doing it together. The more the merrier, just as long as we're adding and not subtracting. Now, I don't know anything about Real Housewives, but I'm including this blind item for anyone who does. It says this new housewife is really hoping her contrived separation story will keep people from digging into the open marriage that has gone on for years and the swinging too. And that's Meredith and Seth Marks. That means nothing to me because I don't watch the show. Ooh, and then this one steams me. Allegedly, it's about Kit Harington and Rose Leslie, who played Jon Snow and Ygritte in Game of Thrones. This streaming actor getting set up for another go round says that he is in an open relationship. His wife would probably say he is, but she's not allowed to be. Hmm. Now, this blind item wasn't revealed, but it's just interesting because it's with A-listers. So let's read it. It says, despite some ups and downs, this Hollywood marriage has lasted longer than many would expect, since these two A-list stars both have huge egos. The obvious reason they stay together is because their careers are somewhat intertwined is only part of the puzzle. The other reason is that they have an open marriage and are allowed to have other lovers with conditions. Their playmates must sign ironclad NDAs as well as contracts stating that their sexual relations are consensual. What really makes this work, though, is that their respective lovers must also be in open marriages, so no single partners are ever allowed. There were a lot of people saying that Jay-Z and Beyonce are in an open marriage. I have no idea. I don't think Beyonce has like a huge ego though, but it just says two A-list stars with huge egos with a marriage that's lasted longer than many would expect. I need to think on that one. Now, the next section of blinds that I pulled were for celebrities who say that they're in an open relationship, but I don't think they are. Okay? I don't think that they are. Number one is Sting. It says, this permanent A-list singer in his day, back in the day, is married. Usually, I would say that when he cheats like he does last week, that he's probably in an open marriage. But he told the woman last week that she needed to be discreet and not tell anyone. Hmm. We next have a blind item about Carly Kloss and Joshua Kushner. It says, speaking of cheating, the illiterate model who likes to pretend that she can code is being cheated on. Her marriage is rather unconventional, so it is possible that they have an open marriage. I don't know if I trust any blind items about Carly Kloss because I just feel like they've gotten so insane. There's a blind item recently saying Carly Kloss and Taylor Swift are having like late night phone calls. With a gun to my head, I would say that they aren't. I maybe back in the day, but I don't think that they are now. This one was wild. Ted frickin' Danson showed up. I know of him from The Good Place, although I know he's been in like things that are much more highbrow. It says this A-minus list actor who has been in a movie franchise and had multiple hit network shows is telling everyone that he hits on that he is in an open marriage. I don't know. I mean, I guess he could be in an open marriage. Perhaps he is. Chris Como is in the next blind item. It says if you ask this A-list news anchor, he will tell you he's in an open marriage, but his significant other would say otherwise. The next one made me sad. Daniel Craig, who's married to Rachel Weisz, it said, the married foreign born, sometimes A-list, mostly movie actor, and always good looking person, spent some time in the bathroom at this NYC restaurant having sex with a woman he picked up at the bar. Apparently, she bought the line about him being in an open marriage that he likes throwing out. Ewan McGregor is in so many of these. Him and Emily Blunt just back and forth ping ponging with the open relationship and hooking up with each other in the blind items. But it says about Ewan McGregor. You want to talk about a-holes? Let's talk about this foreign born A-minus list, mostly movie actor who for the last decade has fucked every actress he can talk into it. How? He feeds them a line about his open marriage. The same open marriage where he tells his wife that she can't leave the house because he doesn't trust her. I saw that he was making out with some co-star and doing it in public so his wife can see him again, embarrassing her. And now we move to the last section. God, how long have we been going for? Anyway, now we move to the last section, and this is all about celebrity couples who are rumored online to be in an open relationship, but who knows? I think some of these resonate, okay? Number one, the Beckhams. The Beckhams, Victoria and David Beckham. People say that he's been labeled a cheater by the press. There's so many blind items about him cheating, but then there's also blind items about her having another guy on the side. So maybe they'll just like stay together for the brand. I could see this one being true. Number two, Khloe Kardashian and Tristan Thompson. Some people say that they have an arrangement, but once again, it feels like, let's just say, I don't think Khloe brought it up and said, I would love to do this equally just as much as you would. But there was a recent article, like a couple years ago, basically, recent at the time, where Khloe was saying that she was upset that Tristan had had sex with his mistress at his LA home. And she was upset about that because she felt so comfortable in that home. So just the notion of like, I'm upset about where you cheated, but not that you cheated. I feel like that could kind of give open relationship. Some people were saying Justin Timberlake and Jessica Biel. It could make sense why she hasn't left. We all remember the photos, or at least I do, down in New Orleans of Justin Timberlake openly cheating on Jessica Biel with his co-star or someone that he was dancing to and kissing in a balcony, and then they just kind of moved past it. I could see that happening because it's an open relationship. Salma Hayek and her husband, he's a billionaire with a B. He's like one of the richest men in the world. So, yeah, I'm not going to lie. I would probably chew the insides of my cheeks and have a wrecked nervous system and agree to be a part of an open relationship if it was with one of the richest men in the world. He's actually pretty evil, though. So I'd take that back. I say these things, by the way, and I don't mean them. I just want to be clear about that. Well, I might mean it. I don't know. It's never even come close to being on my doorstep. I think no. I think no. No, I wouldn't. Anyway, so a lot of people say that about their relationship. Scarlett Johansson and Colin Jost. People could see an open relationship with that because, once again, rumors of each person cheating on the other, but them being okay with it. And the last one that I'm going to add to the pot myself is Adam Levine and Beate Prinsloo. Because remember when everybody found out that there was cheating going on with that girl Sumner and him sliding in the DMs and like they had hooked up and he was like, we might name our baby Sumner. And everyone was like, this is so embarrassing. Obviously, they're going to break up. They just kind of pushed it under the rug and then they kept moving on. I could see that as another Hollywood example of we're open, just be discreet about it, like David Harbour and Lily Allen agreed on. Be discreet, but we'll be open. And then I'm not mad at you for cheating on me. I'm mad that you embarrassed me. And now everybody knows you cheated on me. They think that you cheated. They don't think that we're in an open relationship. And now my name's being dragged through the mud. So it's a very interesting world, the world of open relationships in Hollywood. And then also the idea of what if somebody says that they're in an open relationship, a la Daniel Craig or anyone like that, and you don't know if they are. And it's got to be hard because I remember after I went through my situation, this is when on the podcast I was telling everyone truthfinder.com. This is what, back when I was dating, I put everyone into Truthfinder. So now you can find out, are they married? Is there someone else in their life? Where do they live? All of these things. To me, I was just such a paranoid freak. I was like, I have to do a background check on every single person I meet now. But if you're in Hollywood and this guy comes up to you, his name's Tom Cruise, I don't know, and he comes up and he's like, no, it's fine. Like, we're in an open relationship. You can't vet that unless you go over to the wife and ask her. And then there's also this like built-in plausible deniability of like, well, of course we can't say it for the public, we're tied into bit. So how can you vet that unless you go to the wife yourself? And then you probably come across like a crazy person and now Tom Cruise doesn't want to have sex with you. And it's also interesting too to see which women allegedly are leading the charge on being in an open relationship. Allegedly Sarah Michelle Gellar and Emily Blunt, maybe more too, Meryl Streep. So I have no idea if any of this is true. I do want to say all of this is alleged. We're reading blind items, like half of these are fan fiction. But if you know anything, you can always slide in or comment on this or email me or anything like that. And let me know what you think about it. And also let me know what you think about this album. It's just been on repeat every day I wake up and there's a different one that I want to listen to. Right now, Non-Monogam Mummy is on repeat. I just think it's a fantastic album. And I really hope that this encourages other artists to just be raw and out there with your feelings. Like the public will welcome you in and embrace it. To quote Hemingway, right? Like, honesty is everything when it comes to art. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for this wackadoo of an episode. If you want to go check out our stuff on Patreon, I had a really fun time with the episode on Friday. I've been rewatching Harry Potter because the weather's getting colder. So I did a deep dive, like truly deep into all of the Harry Potter houses, not just you're brave if you're in Gryffindor and you're kind if you're in Hufflepuff, but really all of the traits that the houses value and espouse and which celebrities I would sort into which. Ooh, Taylor Swift, I think she is a Slytherin who wants to be a Gryffindor. Conan O'Brien, Hufflepuff to his core. His quote of, if you work hard and you're kind, amazing things will happen. Hufflepuff. Jeremy Strong is a Ravenclaw if I've ever seen one. And oddly, I was placing a lot of redheads into Gryffindor, Chapel Roan, Prince Harry. I have good cases for people on there, or at least so I think. But go on over and join the discussion if you want to. Patreon.com patreon.com/fluentlyforward. Sign up on desktop, not your phone, because on desktop it's $5 a month and you get an extra bonus episode every Friday. If you do it on your phone, Apple changed something and now it's $7.50. So just do it on your desktop. Who wants to give Apple extra money? Okay, that's it for real this time. Thank you guys for hanging out with me, and I will see you soon for another episode of Fluently Forward. Bye, guys.